Okay, so aloha and good morning, everyone. And you know what? Today, you know, the slide is labeled minor authorities. Okay. Well, look, there's nothing minor about them. They're just less common, less frequent. And I'm going to be honest with you, many of the things I'm going to be talking about today are going to be, they're going to absolutely challenge what you're reading in books and probably hearing other teachers regurgitate over and over and over again. I'm not saying that ultimately there's not some truth, and I'll point you to that truth as we go along, but I want you to understand that these authorities were I mean, these were really my frontier. Let me just put it that way, in terms of having people that were seriously dedicated to learning what human design was for themselves and willing to work with me, one on one. And a lot of this way back in the beginning of my teaching human design and Kauai, that we could actually find some practical things for them to work with. So when we say minor, we are simply stating that they are less frequent, nothing other than that. And more important than anything else, if you get nothing else from today, most of you will already know what your authority is, or you should know what your authority is. But this gift, I mean, to give this gift to someone, which is here's a place that you can go in your body, or a way in which you cannot use your mind in order to navigate your life. I mean, that's a gift that, I mean, that's something no one's ever going to forget if you give that to them. I know I will never forget the person that gave that to me. And even though they were somewhat wrong, they at least pointed me in the general direction and showed me that there was a possibility of a life where I wasn't living in the this and that of mind. And so we're going to get into some technical stuff today. We're going to get into some frequency stuff. So for some of you that are a little newer, it may actually get a little, wait, don't worry about it too much, guys. We're going to return to this over and over again, okay? But authority is just that. How do you go in your own form with no one else's fucking input, no one else's opinion, most especially your own mind, and make a decision that's correct for yourself? And you'll see it all has to do with what's fixed in your life force. I mean, what is actually there from birth to death that you can learn to use and work with. That's what it is. So we start with aura, right? I mean, you can't go anywhere. You can't do anything with it. I mean, there is no authority other than somebody else's until you start to learn what your aura is. Now, look, those are very in-depth and personal experiences of getting to learn how your frequency works in space. I mean, we're talking about a bubble. I mean, this is a bubble you cannot see, you cannot taste, you cannot feel. It gives you an illusion that you're separate from everything else. And this bubble, we learn, has a trajectory that you have no access to. It is flying through space in a straight line, and you've got just enough room to make yourself suffer in there. I mean, you can bang your head on the prison cell all day long, you ain't getting out, okay? It's really nice if you can relax, sit in your bubble, and ride through space. And remember, 2 arm lengths, it's a big circle, guys. It's 15 foot, there's a 15-foot illusion around you right now that you have some access or ability to change what's happening. And if you'll watch closely, hopefully, you'll start to see that really the only thing that you have the ability to do is fight with your own life. And in an even bigger and more arrogant context, you're fighting with life itself. I mean, just think of it like you're trying to swim against a tidal wave. I mean, life is going where it's going. The sooner you can get that, the better. it takes time to transfer that to someone else, but I'm going to continually hammer you guys on this because at that point you realize you're not in control. You're not. And that alone is such an incredible thing to start with that it's just funny how it seems like these things get jumped over almost. And you don't, they almost get jumped over. Oh, I'm on this, and then what's in my design? It's like, fuck. Do you understand what you've just been given? You've been given the keys to the fucking universe here. Okay? So you guys that are here, those that are around, count yourself as lucky. Most people are not even in a place where they could take in this information at any level. So how does it begin? We are all trained, taught, told to make decisions from where? The this and that of your fucking mind. What is school? Write down, all the good, write the line on the piece of paper, the good points on it, the bad on that. I mean, whether it's closing a sale or writing your goals on the wall or intending or wish crafting or praying for a beautiful world. I don't give a fuck. Okay, if that helps you, go ahead. But if you think it's going to change anything, I really want you to get the level of arrogance you're living in. That you actually think, and I'll go genetically, I'll go biologically on you, even by the time you've had a thought. That thought occurred before you were aware of it. This is why we go to form consciousness, guys. This is why we're going to the form. The truth of the form comes from a very different place, and that truth in the form is found on what is fixed. Remember, when we're looking at a human design, we're looking at not only what's fixed from birth to death. Those are the defined centers. That's why I pounded them, pounded the centers for 3 months or whatever weeks, however many lectures. That's usually done in a module. That's usually an afternoon. I was like, no, this is really important, all right? This is not something you want to skip over in this process, okay? But when you see that you have a defined life force, and not only that, but then you have the ability from a place of awareness to step back and become a passenger, watching how your little character in the movie operates and plays. It's amazing. And then you see all of that openness, what caused you all that pain and suffering all your life becomes these places of incredible wisdom. But we all start right here, What about, what should I do? What's even worse than, you guys probably have had this experience. People will come to you and ask you what you think they should do. I have no idea. And in some cases, I may punch them because it's just like I want to just shake it. What the fuck? You don't know? I have no idea what you should do. But there is a place in your body that you can go to that'll help you stay aligned and understand that you are just stardust flying through space, one of billions of grains of sand. Babies dying at a rate of 40,000 an hour. Our life on this little planet is so precarious, so precarious. And we live in some illusion that we're in control of it. And it's in this illusion that we find suffering. There's another thing in human design you're going to learn about, and that I think maybe this is the right place to talk about it, is that you've got to accept your place. Most people can't accept their place. And when I mean their place, I mean, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Not, well, if I buy this and I become that, or I lose this much weight, or I dye my hair this color. Dude, it's, you actually begin to accept yourself as you are. And you accept your limitations. You accept that you are a very fixed thing in space. And in that, there's this huge amount of relaxation that comes, and then you can laugh at all the little fuzzy bunnies jumping around looking for whatever the hell they're looking for. All right. And if you're like me, it'll be hard not to choke them. Okay. So, did I miss anything?
That was really good.
Oh, thank you. I'm on a good one. Okay. Reminder, you guys should like this slide by now. Making mental decisions while flying through space at 150,000 miles an hour does it not could does have dire consequences but could have dire consequences. And guys, you've got to really see this, guys, you really do, is that the mind loves black and white. You'll notice the last two slides have been black and white. That's what the mind wants. This is good, that is bad. You know, dude, without that the mind is lost. And in human design, you end up with this basically going that way. Why? I don't know. What are you trying to do? Don't have a clue. I mean, dude, the normal world of mad is not going to, pat you on the back and say, oh, what a good boy. But you do get into situations like get into situations like I am now, where people approach me, and I mean, they're just in awe. They're in fucking awe. People that really know me, how reckless I am with the money, how little I care. I mean, if I have to get a tin can and a string in a tent, which is how I basically started teaching human design, if I have to go back, it doesn't matter. This is what I'm doing. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm not trying to get anywhere. And so you see that every time your mind tries to make those decisions, dude, you are throwing yourself off the trajectory, and you're throwing yourself off at a speed that is uncomprehendable to you. You're not doing anything. And the way you'll know when you're pushing on your aura bubble will be your signature. You're not self-signature. The bitterness of the projector, the frustration of the generator, the anger of the manifester, and the disappointment of the lunar beings, the reflectors. It's like, oh, you mean if I'm just feel successful being myself today, that's success as a projector, for instance? Yes, that's success. That's what it means. You were successful being you today, and that's enough. Now, it's probably not enough for the mind, but, fuck the mind. I'm going to spend a year.
That slide.
Yeah, I'm going to spend a year fucking the mind. Okay. Oh, here we are. At this time in our evolution, in its present state, guys, mind has become insane. I literally look at it as an invasive species, just sucking the life force out of human, everyone, the dogma, you should do this, follow this spiritual path, pray in this direction, light your incense, whatever, okay? Whether it's business goals, whether it's spiritual goals, whether it's, dude, anything, any moment that you think anything should be different than right now, you're screwed. It's that simple, that elegant, that perfect. And it's our time, guys. I mean, this knowledge, you're here. You're here in spite of everything that would prevent you from being here. And it's our time. It is our time to move away from this mental awareness and really return to, what is the body's awareness and the true development of what passenger consciousness could be. Now, I know that there were thousands of traditions that worked for thousands of years, and it's everything you can think of, from yoga to Kabbalah to martial arts, everything. All of those things, none of which in and of themselves are bad. But many of those things were tools to help you develop or understand, especially astrology and stuff like, the movements of energies and probability of what's going to happen. And that we are truly at a place where that is not what guides us anymore. And this is not for everyone. So enjoy your fun little time of telling everybody about human design, because it will end abruptly. When about the 50th person slams the door in your face and tells you you're nuts. And this is really what you guys are being invited into, is like, look, are you really up for the challenge? Ding, ding, comes the 1858 cross of demands projector. Are you up for the challenge of form consciousness? Okay? Because if you're not, what are you doing? I mean, it is anti everything you could possibly imagine. And the place you get to is not some airy fairy fuzzy cruise ship where you bathe in lollipops and raindrops forever. It is a very specifically dark and melancholic place because what's there is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? Everybody's looking for more things, trying to get things, trying to become things. And where this will take you to, at least on the minds, from the mind's perspective, is to nothing. Nothing matters. My girlfriend's leaving me. Ah, that sucks. I'm getting married. Oh, well, I hope it works out. I mean, it's really, you can't even pretend to get overly excited or attached to anything because you see the impermanence of everything. And you see the fact that you've never been in control, and the mind is going to fight you on that until, well, like it woke up this morning giving me a lecture about moving. I mean, it's not like it turns off. It's trying to invade my species. It's trying to be an invasive species to me, but I don't listen. Okay. So we're clear, right? This is human design. This is form consciousness. This is about how to go to the body for information and study your mind. First, you come with the aura, how you interact, how your bubble interacts with all life, not just your life, but all life. And then inside that bubble, you have things you can trust. And the very first thing you need to learn how to trust, or at least start to experiment with, after the aura mechanics, is the authority. Okay. There are 7 possible ways that humans can make decisions without their minds. And there is a hierarchy, meaning that if you have one of these, they get, they get thinner as they go down. We're not going to look at these major ones today, emotional, sacral, and splenic, but they go in that order. If your emotions are defined, it's over. You're emotional. You are part of the coming awareness or the coming consciousness. If you're sacral, that's not awareness at all. That's a stupid motor that responds in the now. And it's nice to be a stupid motor responding in the now. You don't have to take any credit for it. I mean, there was no thought. It was just no. Devin maybe could share a little bit about the other day where we had to ask Joan to do something that was basically an but only for 5 minutes, and it was like trying to wash a cat. It was like, Jesus Christ, man, come on, just please, I know we just need to test this thing. I know you don't want to, but and it was really funny, like that you get so energetically strong that even if you wanted to bow or give in, it gets very difficult. I mean, you can kind of try to pretend, but it doesn't work too well. And then you have like me and many of you in splenic authority. It's totally existential. We're not going to cover those today. Okay, we're going to cover the ones that are, in general, much more difficult for people to get their hands around. We have the ego authority, right? This means that the will is defined. Okay, and that is actually becomes the authority. We'll look at this more specifically in a second. G, which is the center of the self, also not an awareness center, okay? And then we have outer or mental authority, and I know that that's a confusing one for you guys. For most, look, these 4 I'm going to do today are confusing for most human design teachers. I do not expect you to get these today unless they are you. And if they are you, then I should have already hammered you on them, and if you're confused, then you can come back and I'll hammer you on them some more. Okay, but I do want to at least give you the ability to share some with some other people, because I know many of you are really here because you've got some deep love for this information. You'd like to be able to effectively share it with other people. And I'm going to try to give you the things that I have seen actually work and not confuse people, but I'll address both. And again, we're only looking at about 7% of the planet today, what we refer to in human design as minor authorities. Emotional, 50% of the planet, sacral, 30% of the planet, spleen, 10%, ego manifested less than 1%, self-projected, 2.5, whatever, ego projected 0.5%. And then, guys, this is going to be, especially if you're working with your friends and they're going to come running to you with their charts and they're going to go, it says I don't have an authority. It says authority none. Another place I just want to kill people or choke them to death for who thought that would be a good idea to put on a chart. Ra, I'm coming to get you, brother. No, okay. So what you'll see if you look closely, it'll say no inner authority. It does not say no authority. So just remember, if you come up with a reflector or a mental projector, you're going to see inner authority equal none, or however it's written on the charts, because I barely look. I just look at the chart now. I don't look at the stuff that you can get at the top of it. But that's going to be a question. And just right now, the answer is no, you have an authority. I just need to explain to you how it works. Because you will get these calls and you will get these questions if your guides are working with people, etc. And just, dude, stop them right there. Because if not, that'll become their new blankie that they cry over or whatever. Because I don't have an authority. Yes, you do. Okay. So here's the hierarchy of the four we're looking at today. Ego, right? Willpower. Will or not. Pretty much that simple. G authority only goes one place, guys. To the throat. It's the expression, this is me here in this moment, This is me having seen things through a pattern. Here's me telling a story. Here's me in the now. I think I got it. Anyway, but regardless, think about how cool is it. G, here I am. That's the end of the sentence. It's not here I am with all this other shit like me. I mean, I have a defined G center, but I mean, I'd love to have that. Here I am. That's the end of my teaching. And then mental authority, which can be the head and ajna connected, head, ajna, and throat, or ajna and throat. And again, you're going to see inner authority none, and then people will be crying and throwing fits. You can give them a quick blankie on that one. And then lunar authority, only the reflector. The effectiveness of that whole pattern thing we're going to look at today, and I'll make arguments for and against. Okay, is everyone with me so far before I actually get into these? I'm on a little tangent today. Always happens when I don't prepare. Oh, Elizabeth made it. Aren't you supposed to be in the Grand? Aren't you supposed to be in the Grand Canyon or something? She walked in to the coffee shop, and I swear I did. I mean, I know it's a reflector thing, but I looked at her like 4 or 5 times trying to make sure, is that really her? She looks so much younger and softer here in Sedona than her other picture. We'll have to get you a Sedona picture while you're here. Okay. All right. Okay. So did everyone say everything?
Yeah. Nobody said no.
Okay. Everyone's good. Okay. So ego authority, and I don't know how helpful this will be, but again, guys, most of you are pretty new. There will be no spleen. There will be no sacral. There will be no solar plexus. Okay. And, this can only be one of two different designs. You can either be, ego projected or ego manifested, ego manifester. Now, there are plenty of projectors that have willpower. They have the ego, and manifestors that have ego, but they have some of these other things. So it is not their authority. To be an ego manifestor or ego projector means there is no spleen, there is no sacral, there is no solar plexus. Okay? And it really is will or not. I mean, it is not very different from Jones.
Keep going.
Dude, I'm supposed to keep going while Jones running around with wires, taking off clothes, and not a wall or jackets.
Shut up.
Just shut up. Okay. So somehow I'm not supposed to be distracted by what's going on right now. It's good and bad to have someone here with me. Oh, you forgot to plug some things in, did you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So with the ego authority, again, projector or manifester. And again, guys, where do you start? You start with the aura. Okay. I'm also going to be talking to you guys a lot today about frequency. Okay. And this is really where, I mean, I flat out got in trouble with in a class, in the only class full of other teachers I took one time. When people started discussing these, I like, no, it's all frequency based for me. And now I know that that's very specific to my design, but it's why we started with the centers. This isn't even the correct order you're supposed to put these classes in, by the way. I'm doing it the way that it makes sense to me. Because life force has frequency, guys, and especially the projectors. I continually recommend and pound you guys on. You've got to hear the openness. You've got to be able to hear the openness, see where they're getting pressured, listen to it coming out of their mouth. Why? Because then that helps you start to separate what is life force and what's not. Now, I understand that that is not exclusively a projector view. However, it's the only projector view. So the fact that some of you can do that plus other things is nice. But for us to really start to hone in on like, wow, there's something fixed there, there's something not. And the reason I continue to tell you guys that or share that with you guys is like on ego authority, you're going to hear things like, oh, well, you should get what you want. Oh, okay. Well, who's doing the getting and who's doing the wanting and who gets to decide who that wanting? I mean, so it's in the end, it's true. You have the will to do something or not. It's not an untrue statement, but you can imagine if I said, you should get what you want. I mean, what would your mind do with that? Or when we get to the G projector, you should only do what you love. Well, okay. Who's doing the loving? Who's deciding what to love? I mean, we have a whole, it gets tricky. So what's not tricky is the will expressed, either to the G or to the throat, either one. Whop, you hear it. And both, regardless of having willpower or not, will is like this thing that kicks on or not. And it really is, I mean, if it's not, if it's not working properly, everyone around you is going to feel pushed. They're going to feel pushed anyway, by the way. But there's a real cleanness to when the pattern opens and you can move through those. I mean, think of it almost like a video game or something. Whether a projector or manifestor, you're waiting for these doors to open and the will to be there to walk through. And the rest of the time, you're going to get caught in all the openness and all that frequency stuff that's not you. And it is strong, it is clear, and it's there or not. It is literally a surge of power. Do you want to pick up your headset? I'm going to let Joan get it together before we continue on here. All right. So the ego manifester, when the will engages, it happens in the moment. Dude. It is strong, it's clear, and it brings with it impact. So what am I looking at here? I'm looking at not only is the will there, or not only is the will being expressed, but the impact of the aura has to match that frequency. You could be an ego manifester and go will yourself to do anything you want. The worst people that will themselves are projectors, by far. Why? Because we see everything, we see how everything works, and then we're going to go make it work for us that way, and it gets projectors in so much trouble. I've joked with you guys for years. It's like I barely will work with ego projectors anymore. The authority is expressed through the throat center, okay? That's where it gets expressed, okay? And noticing those moments of real impact. What is actually an effective punch? I like it because there's so many martial artists here.
Mm.
It's like that punch that really lands. It was almost effortless and it hits. Or the golf swing and it hits. Or the baseball bat. You know, for as a manifester, you have to realize just because they're called manifestors, they're not manifesting anything. They are agents of the program. And what these particular agents of the program will be moved by will. They will have the will to do it or not. And good luck trying to get. I mean, you think that's? I mean, that's one you ain't moving. Okay, I mean, if they're really locked down to that thing, I mean, it's almost worse than me in a way because it's got that repelling aura, you know. But you're not going to move them, and it really is for them to develop the sensitivity of that ego to impact. And when the program is actually saying this must be done. And when this must be done, then the will engage to back up that movement of energy. See it that simply, guys. This is simply putting the car in gear because life says the door's open. It's that simple. You good?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything here?
Mm.
Okay.
No, I'm just getting it.
Yeah. I know. I had to teach it a decade before I got it. And sometimes I still go, this is pretty strange. But there's not a lot of these people around, guys. We're talking about like 1% of the population. I mean, we're down to reflector stats here. Okay. And this is the most, I mean, this is the least defined authority, whatever. This is, you know, the ego projector is only about 0.5% of the population. Now, I have young Devin, of course, who's working with us. And I have one friend in Sweden or Switzerland, and I always fuck it up, so I'm not going to try to say which one. Now I say both. Guys, these are the only 2 ego projectors I've been able to deal with. I mean, I'm sharing with you experiential data that was based on not thousands of readings, well, maybe 50 or 100 sessions and readings for people like this that have this type of authority. But phew, did any of them listen? Did any of them actually take in what they, no, very few. So, and again, this is the dilemma of ego. Ego defined in any projector is a really tricky thing because the will gets together with the mind and they go and they do whatever they want to do. And as projectors, we see how it works, and then everybody claps. Oh, you did it! And you know, you just. And the other thing to be careful about with these will-based authorities, if you know people like that, is that, dude, once that dog gets its teeth into something, man, it doesn't just let go. So it's almost like you need to be really cautious about what you have the will to say yes to, because there is some genetic thing in that, having willpower, which most of us don't have. But there is some genetic thing in the willpower that can just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and it'll just destroy the vehicle. So it really is, you know, and there's only one channel here. So, you know, it is the channel of initiation, which is really funny to think of being a projector. And this is why we call it the channel of the shaman or the channel of the high priestess or, you know, medicine man, these sorts of things. It's because in the tribe, it is actually like the guy you come to, you have to go to him, right? And sit at the gate or whatever the thing is, or wait your turn. And then they're here to shock you. I mean, they are here to shock you into a different reality than you've ever been able to experience on your own, and certainly not a place that you would normally go. You won't normally go there. I mean, these are the people that are here to push you out the door of the airplane when you're afraid to jump. So be careful when you're inviting these people. And it does help, you know, to be able to talk things through with people and with both of these types of designs. The manifester really doesn't need anyone else, but it can. I know because I've had ego manifester friends that they've been able to. Nah, I really feel in talking to you that the will is there. So this whole having someone to talk to is actually good for all of the authorities we're talking about today. Sometimes it's just good to have someone to talk to, period, in this process, guys. That's why, you know, I'm glad you know, those of you that are going to the forums or dealing in the Facebook, whatever. It's good to have people to talk to. Because what you're basically inviting is a mutation. And, nothing the mind fears more than mutation, right? So be clear what you're inviting. And it is someone that's here to take you into places you wouldn't get to on your own. And so that's what you're also. Now I got to be careful with this because I don't want anybody making this a law. Ego projectors learn about their will when they talk about what they've been invited to do. Okay? That's not really the point of engagement of the willpower. What happens is you can actually hear in the frequency, again, guys, all of the openness sounds like a bad cell phone connection. You guys, many of you are individual, a lot of you are projectors. Your ability to tune in to frequency and understand, that's life force, that's not life force. See, that's really great in your guide. So you're here to help everyone else. And then one day, this is what's going to happen. You're going to open your mouth and you're going to be talking and realize, oh my God, that was a complete line of bullshit that just came out of my mouth. So yes, be pokey little proddy people and look into everybody else's stuff and show them, well, do your best not to show them unless they ask, but you can share with them what's working, what's not working, these sorts of things. But guys, the joke about that is this is how the projector finally comes to terms with how stupid it is. Because we have binoculars, guys. We can't see back. Very difficult for us to see ourselves. But we can learn frequencies, and we do know about life force. That's what we're here to know about. Again, available to all other types. But this is all we get as projectors. So I recommend you really start to hear to learn that frequency of what, in this particular case, what does the will to be myself sound like? This is the will to be myself, and the rest of this is mind babble. The rest of this, because look, you're going to have 7 open centers with this configuration. There's no way around it. There's absolutely no way around it. Yeah, I guess you could get to the throne. Yeah. There's almost no way around it. Okay, there's a lot of open centers. Damn it. Listen to and feel. I don't think I've ever met one of them. I don't think I've ever met this configuration, ego projected.
With mental?
With anything else. Yeah, they usually come clean. Anyway, regardless, you would have a lot of openness, pressure, whatever. Emotional blackmail for sure is going to be on the top of the list, doing things to make nice and play nice and have people like you. There's going to be all sorts of splenic fears and insecurities. You're not going to be, you're going to be trying to push energy when that's not your trip. It will be obvious. Maybe not today, but it will become obvious. It's like, look, the more you can tune into what life force is and what it's not, what it is, what it's not. On each of these authorities, it's basically the same thing. You're just tuning into what the life force is. Now, in this particular case, right, it's the will to be yourself. And listen to and feel what is said. A frequency, guys. Do you have the will to carry it through? Does it feel right for you? Just as cool as the G, here I am. Here is the will to be, here I am. It's a cool thing. But only when you get free of all the other bullshit. And if you meet people like this in your guides, because there's only Devin here that has this, is that if you meet people like, just push them back to aura. All of these authorities, push them back to aura. Because these take time to develop. Because you keep hearing in human design, strategy and authority, strategy and authority. No, it should be aura mechanics, aura mechanics, aura mechanics, aura mechanics, aura mechanics, aura mechanics. Oh, and there's a way for you to make a decision from your body. I don't see them as equal. Strategy and authority are not equal. It's like 80% aura, mechanic, or strategy. And then 20%, yeah, it's not important. It's a huge importance, whether or not it's correct for you. But that first part helps align the second part. It helps tune you into the authority. So getting good with your aura mechanics and strategy helps you tune into your authority. Another thing people got upset with me for saying. Damn it all. He's being to him again.
Mm.
We get a lot of that. I seem to be kind of going long today. Okay. So G, or self-projected authority. Guys, these are some of the, I mean, I attract so many G projectors, it's actually almost spooky. And I assume, I assume it's because I'm speaking in a language that they kind of get must be sort of true since that's their world. I mean, to me, all of this is frequency, you know, and here you're going to have the G getting expressed to the throat. And you may have some mental definition in there as well, but at the very least, it's going to be the G to the throat. And what's the most important thing? And everyone says, what you say when you're not thinking. If you've thought about what you're going to try to say, I mean, it's not that I didn't review these slides today and stuff or whatever, but does anyone think I'm following a script? I can barely remember, I don't even remember the presentation. You know? It can only be a projector. So what do we know? It has to be invited. Who's inviting you to be you? Who's inviting you to be you? What are they normally inviting? Well, you know, the big one, you open sacral and open emotions, they're going to invite you to be their blow-up sex toy. And they're going to put you under pressure to be that, and then they're going to give you some sense of security in that. And then, or they're going to try to put you to work. I met this other young projector. They were like giving her some big job, like it was an invitation. I was like, whoa, okay. I wouldn't quite, I see that more as an invitation to the not self. You know, because you're going to have all this openness. Who really sees you, gets you, and lets you be you? I mean, that's true in all of human design, right? Because we're walking on these very, very narrow threads. And as hard as it is to deal with our own madness, we have to deal with the madness of everyone else, thinking that they know what we should be doing. And when you don't have, I mean, you're not going to have much energetic you're going to have basically no energetic projection here, protection. Everything is up. Everything that could be defined is going to be up from here. G, throat, sacral. G, throat, ajna, head. What do they all have in common? None of them are motors. This is a non-motorized projector. You do not have a motor. You have a sail. The wind must blow, and you must trim your sails and fly along with life. You're not going to paddle up the river. I mean, at least if you have some motors, you can sit there and pretend like you're going somewhere while paddling against the river. Here, it really is this, relax, go through space. And there's such a beautiful frequency to the G to the throat thing. It's like so obvious. It was working with G projectors is how I really started to, even before mental and ego and these others, it was like, I get it, I get it. Now, yes, they're going to have G to throat. And this is what it's going to sound like more than anything, is that it will just feel like a river. You know, it'll just feel like the communication is coming very cleanly and clearly. Okay? If anything else is coming around and trying to put pressure on that throat center, it's going to distort what's there. I hope this makes sense to you guys. Think about it. It's just a circuit board. G to throat, one way or another, expressing oneself. And when one is expressing oneself, they're going to hear, it's going to be clean, clear, connected, and flowing. And some of you may have seen Devin Rathel, not Devin Wright here in the class. He's a G projector I've been working with for a long time. Oh, he's a total pain in the ass. We're buddies. Most of my friends are total pain in the asses. That's what makes them interesting. I mean, trying to move him is like trying to move a football stadium. It's like, I mean, dude, there's nothing there. How is he so rigid? But I'm telling you, dude, when you're yourself in space and you get that, you ain't gonna move. But even as he begins to talk, if he hears it kind of like congesting on him, he'll just shut up. Just like when I start to say something that's not true, sometimes it'll get out of my mouth because I have an open throat and it just sails out, but I catch it as it's coming out. This is something that'll be good for all of you, because we're all talking bullshit most of the time. Listening to yourself speak, hearing, it's a powerful sense of identity that you're hearing come through the voice. It won't be pressured. It won't be manipulated. And again, just think, it's like, here are these very specific strands of information moving up, and then there's all these things around it that can push on it. Is the river running cleanly? Are you invited? Does the expression come cleanly? Or are you trying to push out what you're trying to say? It really can get that easy for you. Again, you will see written in many books, including the Bibles or whatever, that G projectors should do what they love. Okay, great. What would I love? I mean, isn't that going to be the next question? What would I love? And now where are you? Well, you're definitely in your fucking mind. So the truth is the G is the center of love and direction. So the truth is the G, yes, should only be doing what it loves. How do you even begin to align that with the statement, hey, just do what you love? That's like about as helpful as follow your bliss. Well, if I followed my bliss, I would have already been in jail. So it really is this, you get to hear yourself. Is it really coming through? Is it clean or not? And if it's not, it's not. Just shut up. Just like I tell everyone, halfway through the sentence, shut up. Yeah, and there'll be a hearing, a feeling, a sensing. But again, it only gets really developed by the more you watch and hear others, because open emotion sounds like open emotions. Open root sounds like open root. They all sound the same, no matter who they're coming out of. And it's really shocking that when you hear them come out of you. It's a moment for a projector when you realize what's coming out of your mouth is bullshit. You're like, oh boy, you finally get there, huh? Now, there is another thing that I want to be careful with here, because there is a visceral feeling too that begins to develop, and it really is right here in the G. I know someone was sharing with me that they really are happy. They finally have this place to go. They know where it is. They know where home is. I've been told, the G center in general, because I do have it defined, there is some sense of a direction. I don't have a clue what it is, but it seems like it's going that way. There is a feeling that it's going that way. But with G projectors, many times I've heard there can almost be like this opening, an opening towards things, or this repulsion closing towards things. I would be very careful with that at first. I would really focus on what mechanically is there. But this visceral feeling is very much there. It is an inner authority. It does reside in the body. It's not aware. So this is where I'm saying just be careful that it's not your mind getting in there. But you may really feel like, wow, this is just really my direction. And or it's really not my direction. And you guys get the benefit of a decade worth of a bunch of us idiots on Kauai just being so stupid and radical in our experiment, not saying anything until anybody, I'm not saying anything. And does my G want this peanut butter or not? This was my life for a decade. And I'm talking about another friend. We were really experimenting with it. And so start to see that there may be a visceral feeling there as well. And that's a really beautiful thing. But I don't want you to look for that too early, and I'd be careful even trying to explain that to someone else. I would really just say, hey, if you have something to talk about, especially assuming they're your friends or you're a guide, if you really have something that's going on, why don't we talk about it? But really remember, you're a projector. Are you invited? Do you feel recognized? Is that recognition reciprocated? Do they allow you to be you? There would already be a 5-point checklist. And yes, it's nice to have people to talk to that don't give a shit what you're going to do. But how many of those people exist on the planet? How many people exist that do not care what you do? Not many.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. How many people really want you to do what's right for you? I mean, they can say those words out loud, but so be careful who you're talking to too. And the second anyone starts trying to put any input, anything like that on you, just cut them off at the knees. Do you know what would be good for you? No, but neither do you. That's my favorite.
That's great.
I mean, this morning somebody was like, "Do you know what you should do?" I was like, "No." I made my funny face. And I go, "But I also know this." What? Neither do you. Right back at them. They got it. A magnetic pull, like an attraction or repulsion, yeah, it becomes visceral. There is a physical thing. It is the G center. It is in the body. So when correct, they are expressing the direction and behavior of the self. Fun. I love it. Here I am. I get to do that with some other stuff, but yeah, here I am. You know, you define G's in general can be a resource about direction. We carry direction, okay? But again, those of you with open G's, you don't need a defined G center to figure out what your trip is, which is another thing you may hear out there, okay? Now, look, I can show you what a heretical direction looks like. That's me. I can show you what heresy, being me, looks like. Now, if you're intrigued by that trip, you can jump on that trip for a while. Just don't try to make it yours. And with G projectors, really, what do you have? I'm showing you what direction looks like for me, and I'm here to express that. You know, so you can be a resource. I mean, almost like a signpost. It's like, yeah, you know, I don't know exactly what's right for you, but it sounds like sort of up that canyon somewhere might be something for you. I mean, you're projectors after all, you know. You're allowed to experiment on people. Go ahead. They're just humans. We've got 8 billion of them. We can lose a few. Yes, try jumping off that bridge. Let me know how that goes. But you don't want to be putting your trip on anyone, guys. I mean, this is the trip where you don't put your trip on anyone. So staying true to the identity and love is what gives, I can't read the sentence, is what gives these beings their power. Yeah, but to really be empowered as that, especially, you know, like the 8 and 1, I mean, to really be empowered of like, here I am. But in any configuration, the G projector is basically just saying that. Here I am. I am a frequency of love and direction expressing itself in this realm right now without any emotors and without any awareness. I am simply a signpost on a corner of humanity. That's sort of true for all G's, but that's what the G projector stands for. It's like, oh, here's a potential of, here's one of the human ways or directions. You might want to check it out. It's very cool for me. Because it is me, if you're a G projector. Wow. I have 2 more?
Mm-hmm.
Damn it. I'm not done working for the day. Okay, so remember, guys, when your friends come screaming, my chart says I don't have an inner authority. Yes, you have authority. What you have is fixed life force. And so you'll see, you know, mental projectors. Okay, again, head and ajna and throat, or head, ajna, throat. Doesn't matter. Fixed life force. Okay. I mean, this would be as funny as, I mean, the only reason it's not as funny is because it is the mind. But if the ego gets to do what it wants, and the G only should do what it loves, then by that same logic, wouldn't this be do what you think? Do you know how dangerous that is in 9-centered consciousness? So don't, guys, ultimately it is true. I mean, ultimately, this being is going to end up doing what it thinks. But it's not the thinking that we're thinking about, okay? It's the fixed life force that's expressing itself, okay? Open throat or not, it's fixed. So mental definition with no definition below the throat can only be a projector. Potentially the wisest of all projectors, because why? Because there is nothing below. You can see how every frequency of energy works. And what do we know in human design again? I love this one. Guys, there are no, from the throat up, no motors, none, none. It doesn't take an engineer to figure out that the mind is not capable of engaging the clutch or the engine or the motor. The mind is just there as the witness. And I mean, a lot of times we use this, kind of, like the owl in the tree, sort of like, dude, it is really, truly just there to be the witness. Now, what's the dilemma? The dilemma is the 1,000 places you can get hijacked here. It really is the 1,000 places you can get hijacked. But this is a place where outer authority, there is no visceral G, there is no wham of the ego here. There is simply, that is my fixed life force. I hear what it's saying or not. It's that simple, guys. So again, frequency, frequency, frequency. You will hear fixed frequency versus something that is pushed. Technically, yes, technically, no inner authority, okay, but still authority. Talks things over to hear, talks things over to hear what sounds and feels true. Guys, you're not talking things over to ask anybody what they think. You're not even talking it over to figure out what you think. You're talking it over so you can hear the outward expression of life force, something I'm recommending to all of these authorities. You're here to hear, you can communicate. It's the great gift of the neocortex and the dropping larynx 60,000 years ago. We can talk. One of the gifts in nine-center consciousness is you can actually hear what's fixed and what's not, because you're not listening to anyone else, remember? So you need people that you can trust, and people that aren't going to try to put their trip on you. I mean, I just feel like I'm doing a broken record. It's true in everyone's design, but here there is nothing else. There's a great mental projector. Maybe I'll get her on a show one time. Back in Kauai, good friend of mine. But they need people that they can trust, to listen to themselves, to hear themselves speak, and that they're not seeking the opinions of outside. You're not. None of us are seeking opinions from the outside about anything from anyone ever again. I mean, you can call someone like me and I can try to tune in and go, that sounds true what you're saying, that doesn't. Does that feel true to you? Okay. As a guide or anyone sharing this information in human design, if I ever catch any of you doing anything beyond that, that sounds basically true. Does that feel true to you? Whether it's, I don't care which authority or what you're doing in human design. You can talk to people in the, you're knowledgeable about this information, and you can kind of hear like, oh yeah, that sounds like you, that doesn't sound like you. But the second you go, oh yeah, that was true and that's not, dude, I'll find you and beat your ass. I mean, this is not putting our trip on people. And especially as projectors, most of the time we are going to spend watching people go full speed ahead right off a fucking cliff, okay? And it is not our job to get in the way. It is not our job to tell them they're being dumbasses. It is not our job to try to slow them down. We watch. Every now and then, right before they drive off the cliff, they'll look up and go, do you see something? And I go, yeah, I see a fucking cliff. But as projectors, every time you go to help, you're going to get that, you're going to get the kickback in the frequency. They're probably going to drive off the cliff anyway. Then they're going to blame you. So keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times.
Mouth shut.
Yeah, mouth shut. Get your duct tape if you need to. Yeah, and so guys, having people that you trusted, but as a mental projector, really, really having those one or two confidants. I mean, in like recovery work, we call it sponsors. I mean, I joke that I have a human design sponsor. There's one entity in human design. There's one human that's actually encouraged me to be me. Everyone else I've met has had opinions to make it simple. You're only looking for people that are actually behind you going, what's your truth? How does it work for you? Does that feel true? I mean, the second anyone tries trying to tell you anything, man, I would just start backing up, because that's the world we live in, and the world we live in is this hierarchy of I know and you don't. Okay. And if you're going to be training with me and you're going to go out in the world and actually impart this information to other people, there's nothing more important to me than that, is like that you're not putting your trip on them. Everybody's putting their trip on, and then you get this information, and oh my God, you've got a blueprint to how to fuck them. I mean, you've got a blueprint how you can aggressively manipulate them. And if you're a projector, that's what you're going to see first. So it takes an incredible amount of integrity to be doing this. And whether it's for you or anybody else, I mean, this human design, to be in this experiment, takes an incredible amount of integrity to begin with, because you have to own your own shit, which is not a popular concept. Here in our seven-centered first world life that we're living in, or whatever they call it, taking no responsibility and blaming everyone else is really pretty much the game, right? So I'm talking to you guys more about being guides today than I am about actually being authorities. That's interesting. I'm just noticing. I planned it. Did you see it, didn't I?
We talked about it ahead of time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
whole back here. There's a
checklist. Yeah, you're doing good.
Yeah. There's a thread over here. I'll make sure I cover all the points. So, these people I mean, remember, guys, projectors in general are going to be the most fucked up people you're going to meet anyway. I mean, psychologically, they've lived an entire life. Most of them. I mean, dude, the grace of the forces. Some people get a little easier time. I mean, it is what it is. But we've lived a life completely not as energy beings. Generators and manifestors and even reflectors are so much more protected. And even though the reflector's got its own trip, we're about to get there. We can't move energy on this plane. What works for other people doesn't work for us, but we see how it works for them. And when in seeing how it works for them, we think we can do that too. And like the very first thing you're giving someone permission to, the first thing you say to a projector is, you're not here to work. You're not here to work. You're not here to be in that physical movement of energy as any sort of a life's pursuit. I do not recommend construction. However, I do know a lot of really good contractors that are projectors, but they hire people to do. I mean, it's not like they're not there. They're paying attention. They see the nails out of place, but they're not the ones actually physically doing the work, unless you're just way off and you're killing yourself. But no one's asking anybody about anything anymore. Oh, I forgot I had this slide. I already did this one. No definition in the body. This is what happens when Joan is working on the slides until 15 minutes before we came into class. She's still working on them. I like this slide. This is a great slide, but I already covered this. So no definition in the body to rely on. It's helpful to monitor the body and become acquainted with the energies of all the open centers. Okay. True statement for all of you. True statement for, I mean, not the beginning, but dude, become acquainted with what's not you. It's where you're here to be wise. And if you're a projector with this sort of mental projector thing, there is nothing below the throat. There are no motors. You are really just here to see. And in that awareness becomes your gift. What was once conditioning becomes nurturing. Nurturing in a way that it helps turn on those activations that aren't always active. And they get turned on in a way that's specifically helpful for you, for your evolution. But unlike most of the world, we're not trying to get more. We're not trying to get more people. You're trying to cut it down to the exact right people. That's the gig here. Get rid of the dead weight. Get rid of the dead weight. Get rid of the dead weight. I'm just sharing with you. It's like, it's exactly no goals, no ambition, no idea where you're going, not trying to add to, but cut away from. It's exactly the opposite of what the mind was not only conditioned to do, what it was designed to do for the last 90,000 years. We are in the hangover of that time. More is better. Find me anywhere that where they're trying to sell something that doesn't say more, better, faster, or faster, better, more, or whatever. That's the world that we live in, and it's accelerating at a pace that's almost uncomprehendable, and at the same time, it's coming off the rails. I mean, those of you that don't fully understand that the cross of planning is coming to an end, and that every great civilization has fallen on one of these crosses, well, maybe we'll tune in and do that lecture one week on Unleashed, because that's the breakdown you're seeing. That's why you guys are looking for something. The underlying frequency of life itself is changing. I mean, I feel like it's, yeah, I mean, it's like, wow, dude, I just had this whole Mordor, Lord of the Rings, epic and journey, will the humans survive vision, and my whole body's lighting up. It's like, will the humans even survive this? Well, I don't know, but I got a front row seat, and I know I don't care. You know? Will the humans even survive? Stay tuned. Mm-hmm. We'll know during your lifetime. Jesus. So when mental projectors respect their decision-making process, they can be deep wells of wisdom for others, really deep wells of wisdom for others. And when they don't, they can be deeply disturbed by the lack of stability and security with all their openness. I mean, it really should be that sharp. Guys, all of you, think samurai blade, think razor blade, think whatever is the sharpest, most specific thing that you could think of. That's your design. I mean, it's beyond sharp. You know, I'm not talking about just the projector warrior. I'm talking about the frequent, what's there. That each of those configurations, 1,080 some odd possibilities, DNA turning on, building a body, building a life force, sending it on a missile, you know, just like the space shuttle through space to its death, putting a passenger in it that has something to do with the whole collective consciousness, and who the hell cares about all that, because it has nothing to do with your life. But think of how sharp and specific all of our lives are. And then think about the mind. All the mind wants is more. And who would be better qualified to see this entire human dilemma than the mental projector? Really step back. Get out of the, wow, that must be fucked up. And go, wow, who's here to really not only understand the minds, the good and the bad, for good and bad, and how much openness is running our planet, you know, and again, by the time you've had a thought, the chemicals that fired that thought came milliseconds to seconds before you got there, and before you became conscious of it. And then at the same time, we know where are those thoughts coming from. Just watch your mind. You will see clearly that the monologues and dialogues playing in there are from your open fucking centers, primarily. And then you'll see that you can, over time, you'll learn that everything that's white in there. And so the chemistry, you got this pressure coming into your body and firing thoughts in your head, and you go, oh, I have an idea fueled by your open center that you would like to do. And who could be the wisest configuration to see all this bullshit? Mental projector. Anyway, there's my little go mental projectors. And good luck, because they're few and far between. But the sharpness that we're all here to live, you know, it's not more, it's less. It's perfectly aligned to us. We get the right diseases that we're supposed to have. We have the right financial stresses that we're supposed to have. We have the right life dilemmas that we're supposed to have. We are designed to have these. It's only your mind that's making them a problem. It's only your mind that's making them a problem. So for everyone, notice the difference between waiting to be invited to share your expression, feeling the space, right? Feel the space. Feel the force. I didn't call it Jedi training on accident. I would have called it samurai, warrior, bloody gladiator killing fields, but I wasn't sure anyone would sign up. But the force, it's nice, it's gentle. You're both warrior and monk, right? You're a warrior and a priest if you're in human design. You carry your medicine and your strength to be yourself. That requires a warrior's resolve. And at the same time, you're a priest or a priestess because you also carry the medicine to help other people. I mean, that's why I love the Druids so much. You were a warrior and a priest. Many of the ancients, they started to dissect these things in different cultures, but a lot of the indigenous, no, you're both, warrior and priest. So you understand that life is happening. As soon as you're pushing on life, you're messing it up. As soon as you push on life, you're creating your own suffering. And even the manifester, in essence, needs to be invited, but it has to be invited by the forces, not by an individual. The projectors, you need to be invited by someone. I mean, that's why I'd be laughing. I mean, there could be one person here today. I'd still be doing the same lecture. That's only one person came. Well, then only one person came, Then only one person wanted to hear. And I can go back to the surf school. Another place my mind continues to go, really notice the difference between waiting to be invited to share your expression and what it feels like to push it. Feel that difference. You all have it. Even MGs, Jesus Christ. Dude, become aware of your energy. Yeah, it's all about you until you want someone else in your life. I mean, those of you with a lot of energy and a lot of definition, of course, it's all about you until you want there to be another human. Okay. Did I get everything on here? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And most of us are like this anyway. Most of the class. So I know that they didn't hear most of what I said today. So it's okay. Okay, coming down the back stretch, and I'm way over time today. How did that happen? Lunar authority, no definition at all. Guys, I've been really honest. Elizabeth's here it's somewhere in the Grand Canyon or Sedona or somewhere. She's with another reflector friend. Guys, there's no fixed life force. I'm a projector. The only thing I know how to do is grab someone by their fixed life force and hold them there until I can figure out how it's working. Okay, that is basically what it has been, John, to be a projector that got exposed to this information a long time ago and figured out by myself how this shit really worked, okay? The code is incredibly true and dense and beautiful and all that. I love it, but it's not the same as practicing the martial art, which is my trip. But then you get to the reflector, dude. It's like trying to grab a ghost, dude. It's worse than a ghost. It's like a dense, slippery ghost. It's like you think you got them, and then you just slide off of them. And then to understand that they are literally protected by the forces. Very little's going in there. They take little bits in. But that their life force is changing constantly. It's an on-off, on-off, on-off. And that waiting this whole lunar cycle, look, some reflectors say it's really good to sit there and they chart their little programs and stuff, and they watch how all that works every day. Others say it doesn't matter at all. They just don't do anything quickly. What a great design. You're here to live in awe. I think that'd be a great keynote. Awe sounds easier to understand than success. Awe means, holy fuck. This is my life. you know, and that if you want to see what rudderless looks like, you can actually look at one of these people because it's obvious there's nothing fixed there. Yeah, yeah. So that they've got this incredibly unique relationship to the program that constantly things, it's not true that everyone doesn't have this relationship, but I mean, they are in essence tied to the program for their movement through space. And again, you know, I feel bad that our reflector lecture got cut short this year, but I mean, you really go back and start to look at the animals, like in the Serengeti, how they all blend in, they move. Look at your cat or someone's dog, how it's like the dog takes on the mannerisms, or the cat takes on the mannerisms of the owner. They're reflectors, guys. I mean, those are reflectors, right? And why my cat decides to do anything is still a mystery to me. You know, he's working on some deeper program that I don't understand. And that they really do have this unique relationship with the program, and that through them, you know, obviously they need to be initiated into things because there is no, you know, fixed life force there. But then once they are, you know, hey, you know, would you like to move wherever, or what, that you just step back and you take a lot of time with that, because it's going to take at least 28, 29 days for the moon to go all the way through all 64 hexagrams. And if you start to think of the reflector's authority, if you try to think of the reflector's life sort of like a month is a day of a normal human. Try to give them, try to stretch the timeline out like that. Now, of course, there's charting the lunar cycles, and there's all these things that we can look at on how to help them better. But the real truth is, they're time they're on a different time. It's like I don't know, like they're on another speed entirely. They're not operating at human speed. I mean, it takes them a month to basically get input like we would get in a day as a normal human. And so again, dude, having people to talk to, having people that they can reflect off of is very helpful to hear where they are at different places. And I was about to do that. Again, generators. Am I not going fast enough? Okay. So yeah, the moon shifts in the program up to 3 times a day. And guys, I don't know about this, and I don't want to get on too much of a trip about it. I did not realize that the moon was that elliptical, because we saw transits from 4 to 11 hours.
At least,
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was always between like 7 and 9 or 6 and 8 or something. I knew it was a little wobble to the moon's thing. I mean, I know other planets are much more elliptical than round, but I did not know the moon was. I didn't know the moon was that shifty, and until I really looked at this. So, guys, I mean, think that they have like 3 different lives, up to 3 different lives in one day, and that to get to one complete life, like one complete day for you, takes them like a month. The monthly journey around the wheel is a constant for a reflector. So you can learn this lunar program. And like I said, those of you that are musicians, or the other thing are like martial artists, where there's these long forms that you commit to either playing an instrument, or knowing your forms or katas or whatever, from different traditions, that there is this rhythm that you can get to know. There's this rhythm. But most people I know don't spend too much time with that. They may really get into that at first, but if you're just saying, look, you basically don't make any quick decisions, don't take at least a month or so, and talk to people about what you're deciding to do. Don't let them influence you. Reflectors aren't good at being influenced anyway, because they've got that kind of repelling aura, or at least whatever, the one that pushes things away, only takes a little bit. So it does help for them to have people to talk to as they go through, because all of these things are turning on and off in their bodies. And if you get them that they really dive in, that lunar thing is something that really turns them on, then the best way to do that is you take You make 64 copies of your chart in black and white, and you can follow the transits of the moon around and see what gets turned on and off, and notice, okay, today I had energy. Oh, today I'm feeling emotional. Oh, today I feel this. I mean, they really are tied to the program in a way that I'm just not. I've never really been a program guy, but for those of you that are interested, we can help you with that. And I have one person in Kauai in particular. If it's your first time trying to help her, I'm just really honest with them. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. You don't have fixed life force. You're a reflector. You had fixed life force, I can help you like that. You got no fixed life force, I can teach you what passenger consciousness is. I can show you how to get out of the way of your mind. I can expose you to these different techniques that other teachers have said have been effective. But at the end of the day, look, they're not even part of this human program. They really are like the moon, and we're down here on the planet. So I say let them figure it out without too much meddling from us. And I only say that, again, because I'm a I'm a projector. And I've been told about being a projector from all these different energy beings, some of them very, very knowledgeable, and some of them even trying to be helpful, and they were just fucking wrong. So I'm the last person that's going to try to explain to her, a generator, yeah, I can get a hold of. Reflectors, not so much. Projector, yeah, I got your number. You ain't getting away. And manifestors, I've beaten on enough of them that, I'm okay working with them too. But on the reflector, I'm really careful because they don't have the one thing a projector can get its hands on, which is fixed life force. And if a projector gets interested in this, and really, the one person that's been helpful to more reflectors than I know personally, anyone else, is a mental projector. That's my friend in Kauai. And so if anybody really wants to get into this, I can refer you to her and have her help you, etc. She does me too. She helps me when people want that. Okay. Only a half hour over. So our aloha slide. Dude, you're so alone. You guys have, well, I don't know. I don't know where all of you have been. And different types of shamanic medicines may help on this journey. But I just don't, it's hard for the mind to get around. It's not in control. You don't have a choice. You have no idea where you're fucking going. And you're totally, totally alone. You're so alone. It's shocking to realize that nobody is having your experience. Mm-hmm. See, in human design, we quit pretending that anybody else is having the same experience we are. And you're going to find real quick that people are having, I have no idea what you guys got today. I know what happened for me today. But if you just approach life with that sort of caution, and especially for projectors, I like to say, keep the sword in the scabbard. You keep the sword in the scabbard. Do not pull that sword out unless somebody really wants it, Just cruise, see what you see, because most of these configurations are going to be projectors. Reflector, same thing. You don't necessarily have a sword, but whatever you guys have, your pan, pink. Keep your pan.
The mirror.
Yeah. Keep your mirror. Yeah. But they can't help that part. They can't help the mirror part. Yeah. So if reflectors, if someone doesn't like you, it's okay. They can not like themselves. It may be that. All right, man. Well, it was a bit more than I thought, but good for today.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.